Hello everyone and welcome back to another Proguides video. I'm Moxxi and today we're going for a trip down memory lane to remember either fondly or angrily the most insanely overpowered heroes upon their release. We're drawing from all of Dota 2's long history, so if you're newer, come and listen to Grandma's horror stories. Dota's an infinitely complex game. It's hard to know how a brand new concept will interact with all the moving parts. I'm not bitter at you, Ice Frog. I'm just thankful that we got new heroes. Maybe you should give us some more ASAP? Danko the Dolphin? Gambler? Puppet Master? Ice Frog himself, there are no frog heroes, but you know what, Ice Frog? You could fix that. The question I have for you today is, did you play any of these heroes when they were released? And did you recognize right away how broken they were? I can't answer or I'd give away the contents of the video. So let's jump right into it. Starting off this list of infamy is Dark Willow. Dark Willow was the perfect example of a support who carried. She still can do that, but this twisted fairy was a nightmare when she was released November 1st with 7.07. Bedlam was the most obvious offender. It had a 20-second cooldown at all levels and did a total of 1500 to 4500 over 4 seconds. Now, if you know Dark Willow intimately today, you know Bedlam lasts 5 seconds. So you might say, well, Bedlam does less DPS now, but because it lasts longer, it's about the same. That would make sense, but that was not the case. Bedlam not only did more damage then, but it rotated even faster, so you would deal more damage and deal that damage faster. 4500 damage on a 20-second cooldown, let that sink in. Sure, it came with the real downside of having to be in the melee range on a support, but it's not like the spell is on a Pugna or something. It's on Dark Willow, who can go completely untargetable for 5 seconds with Shadow Realm. If the target already used their BKB, there is nothing that can be done. Even being generous and saying a carry has 3000 HP, it doesn't matter when accounting for 25% magic resistance. You had to buy a full suite of defensive items just not to get killed by position 5. The Brambles also used to do full damage instantly as opposed to over time. Shadow Realm used to be better at early levels and charge up faster, and Cursed Crown had 200 more cast range. Today, Dark Willow remains a great support to carry from position 4. Just a Yules and a Blink allows for solo kills, even if it isn't as insanely out of control as the past. We do have a Dark Willow guide out there, and it's just one search away if you're a fan of the fairy. Coming in at number 4 is Centaur WARRUNNER, Brad Warden the Centaur, or as he was known when he released October 2012 with the version 6.76, Chad Warden the Pub Ruiner. Now in today's day and age, this might not sound too offensive to you, but you have to remember this was 8 years ago and the overall power level of heroes was much lower. The most OP thing about Centaur was his ultimate, Stampede, which was much like it is today, except it did more damage, lasted longer than 5 seconds, and stunned for 1.25 seconds when you ran through an enemy. Sorry, I said when you ran through an enemy, but really what I meant was when anyone on your team runs through an enemy. In a team fight, this was easily 5 stuns on your opponents. And it's not like this was easy to avoid in any way. Centaur's team was hasted for 5 seconds. There was no running from a good Centaur player. Oh, and Double Edge did a mini stun. So Centaur had 3 reliable cancels for TP or channeled spells. Heck, even an Enigma Black Hole could be globally cancelled. If your teammate was on the closer edge to an Enigma in the Black Hole, you could just ult and the Enigma or whoever would be cancelled out of their spell or TP. Oh, and Stampede had a 65-second cooldown and only a measly 50 mana cost, so it was up for every fight. Centaur had an over 60% win rate in the state. Today, all of those aspects are gone, and he's decent. For the 3rd spot, we have Arc Warden. Arc let the techies level shenanigans and suffering. Anyone who was around in December of 2015 during 6.86 knows what we're about to cover. Arc Warden's clone used to grant full shared XP, and you could completely utilize Rapier, Gem, Salve, anything. So in the early game, you would just use your Tempest Double and feed yourself regen for a full heal. You could just build Rapiers and BKB and win the game from the fountain. Your BKB did not decrease in duration when the double used it, so you could just go Midas, Travels, Shadowblade, Rapier, Hex, Rapier. A horrible build in theory for any core, but because you risked nothing, this build was insane. And because you got full XP from your clone, you literally had no incentive to leave your base in the late game. Just Shadowblade, BKB, Magnetic Field, and hit the enemy base with your imbalanced clone. The clone didn't even give up a high bounty as it does today. Nothing, and I mean nothing, felt worse than losing your barracks to Arc Warden and then killing the clone, who was 100% as tough as the real Arc, for nothing. It was just a slap in the face. The saddest part of all this? It took 5 months for this nihilistic rapier build to be patched out. 5 months of this joke of a hero in ranked. And guess what else? It was still OP because in all of his knowledge, IceFrog thought Arc needed buffs to compensate for the clone no longer being able to cheese with rapier. So your 4-second cooldown Spark Wraith purged now. Say goodbye to Lich, Ogre, Windranger, Ursa, and any hero who relied on self-buffing whenever there was an Arc in the game. 4-second cooldown. No buff would ever last when Arc was around, so that took more months still to remove. To further make a mockery of MMR, there was an exploit at release that allowed the clone to sell items for double gold so you could get infinity gold at level 6. Today, Arc Warden is still very strong if mildly situational. He was struggling for a bit before the current year, but he's been buffed up a lot. The runner-up for most broken of all time is Earth Spirit. Kaolin, the Earth Spirit, was slept on when he was first released in October of 2013. Players were a lot worse than they were today, and Earth Spirit was, and is one of the hardest heroes in the game. While others might be slightly more mechanically difficult, possibly none of them were as mentally taxing as Earth Spirit, who required knowledge of his innate stone remnants and how to use them with your abilities, and then how to use those abilities in concert with one another. Thusly, this insanely overpowered hero actually came in under the radar. Having something under a 44% global win rate, very few realized what he was capable of. But eventually, some realized and the nerfs started coming in. We counted. Guess how many nerfs Earth Spirit has gotten? Did you guess 16? Because that's wrong. It took 16 nerfs for IceFrog to believe Earth Spirit was ready for Captain's Mode, and then guess what happened next? More nerfs. 25. It took 25 nerfs before Earth Spirit saw his first buff. My jaw is hanging open just from reading these patch notes. 25 nerfs, and a lot of these are huge nerfs. Earth Spirit used to not be able to be interrupted from rolling. He used to have 5-second silence at level 1, his roll used to be way faster, the kick used to be faster with a larger AoE, the ult used to be undispellable with a lower cooldown. Guys, I'm crying. Undispellable, why? He used to have the innate ability to turn his team into stones and kick them away. Now you need a full 4,200 gold item just to do that. Oh, and Axe is actually worse than what you used to get for completely free. You used to be able to turn your own team invincible from a 600 distance. Now you need a 4,200 gold Axe just to do that from 125 distance. And you know what? After over 25 nerfs and only a handful of buffs, this hero is still even amazing as a position 4 in the right hands. Number 1 spot belongs to Monkey King. What an absolute terror this guy was. Released in December of 2016 with the 7.0 Dota 2 Reborn patch, Wukong the Monkey King came in like a lion. There's so much to unpack with this one. The Q used to do a flat 200% crit, and the only scaling aspect was half a second of stun. Translation, you could leave this a value point and instead max the most OP ability on the most OP hero, Jingu Mastery. Today, Jingu Mastery does 40 scaling to 130 physical damage. The buff lasts for 4 hits or 35 seconds, whichever happens first. Back then, Jingu dealt 80 scaling to 200 damage, and the buff never expired based on time. That meant you saw a very common scenario. Get Orb of Venom, fight for runes. Even though you might not kill at a rune, you'll have 80 bonus damage on the next 4 hits on a melee hero with twice the standard melee attack range. This buff lasted forever. Even if the rune fight was at 20 seconds before the horn, you'd still have it for lane. Oh, and the 20% lifesteal on this level 1, not only is that higher than it is today, but the lifesteal was also bugged in Monkey's favor. It didn't calculate armor when applying your lifesteal. So at level 1 Jingu, you could have 135 damage for 4 hits, and every hit would be healing for 27. Over 100 total. All this in 1 skill point for no mana cost. And that lifesteal aspect only got more and more broken late game. Even a 1 hero boundless strike with Jingu would full heal you. A 75% physical resist Terrorblade would still feed full heal to you with level 4 Jingu. To top all this off, the Jingu counter debuff, the time you have to apply Jingu stacks, it lasted for 15 seconds. Do you know how long it lasts today? 7 seconds. Every single hit from Monkey King would zone out an enemy for 15 seconds. I mean, sure, they didn't have to back away from Monkey King, but then you're giving up Jingu, which ensures you die or get a whole wave denied, and once Monkey King has a few levels, you're also guaranteeing Monkey gets a full heal. It doesn't even end there. Primal Spring used to slow for twice as much at level 1 and didn't have a sound effect at all. That meant you had no way to know if Monkey was around you and about to land on your head with a 40% slow. This led to the most effective 1-1-4 skill build of all time. The value of level 1 Boundless Strike and Primal Spring was embarrassingly efficient. In the words of the late Billy Mays, but wait, there's more. Monkey King's ultimate used to apply Echo Saber and Basher. Monkey just built himself both an item and skill build, Echo, Basher, BKB. For some insane reason, the Wukong soldiers would bash you to hell, and because they're considered separate from Monkey himself, they didn't rely on the same internal cooldown on Basher to prevent this exact scenario. Oh, and the ulti used to give bonus damage instead of armor. While in theory, this is a rework and not a nerf, for Monkey back then, the damage was way better because you were already a walking fountain with Jingu lifesteal. Thanks everybody for watching. What did you think? Is there anyone missing, or should the ordering have been different? I always thought that Wyvern and Oracle were pretty broken with their ultimates when they first came out, but I know a lot of people consider Earth Spirit the most broken hero of all time. But our writer thinks that Monkey doesn't get nearly enough recognition as the single most imbalanced hero in Dota 2. Monkey King could play all 5 positions requiring way less execution than Earth Spirit. We read all your comments, so let us know. Like, sub, and hit the notification bell to see our videos as they release. See you later, gamers.